Good morning, my friends. I have got a question for you. Do you have a high pain threshold? Or does pain just you know, like you answer to pain? Or do you just not answer to pain, physical pain? And is that the same for you as emotional pain? I'm curious about this. I've been really playing in the idea that maybe my emotional pain threshold is set too high. So we're going to be talking about today. Are you too much to handle? Are you so calm that everybody knows you're just going to be okay? And what's the balance between the two of those? It's an interesting thought. Welcome to Leaning In with Anne. I am Anne Ferguson, and I am a mindset student. And I am an author, and I am an emotional abuse I want to say survivor, but that's, let's do that. I'm a survivor of emotional abuse. And if you've had a lot of emotional abuse, it's quite possible you could be on either one of those sides of being too much or being either numb or docile when it comes to emotional abuse. So this is how this whole thing went down and why it started. I've had a knot in my shoulder, as I've talked about before, for quite some time. And I'm seeing a medical massage therapist. What I've learned about muscles and knots is that rather than stretching them out, they're contracting because they're trying to hold on to something. And so if I, like in this shoulder, if I open up and I actually push down into the knot and contract that muscle, it's like, it gets to have a break. It's almost like I'm supporting the contraction right there, and it will release. I just give it a little bit of breath and stuff. It works. It's the complete opposite of what I've ever been taught. So, leaning into. So instead of like I have a kink in my neck, instead of stretching it out like this, it's actually just letting it relax, like just kind of putting it up and just letting it kind of have a break. It's an interesting thought. I've only tested it on my knot, and it's working. But then, as the massage therapist was working on me the other day, she says, you know what's really interesting is that on your right side, when I push on something and kind of move the muscle and tell it what to do, it responds to me. On your left side, it's almost like it doesn't even know it's being touched. Your left side does not respond the same. That got me thinking about a whole lot of stuff. And then yesterday, when I went for my massage, we didn't even massage. She just started talking to me about some more emotional stuff, because our emotions are held in our bodies. Our bodies respond. Our bodies kind of tell us to pay attention to what's going on. Well, I have a very high pain threshold, and I used to feel like I was super cool about that. I was a dancer, and I used to dance on point for hours and hours and hours a week because I was training professionally to dance with Ballet West. And when you have ingrown toenails and your toes are bleeding and you're on the stage because people have bought tickets, you don't let them know. You learn how to completely disassociate. So my pain threshold is super high. Now, I'm trying to get to that point where I recognize, there's a thing going on in my body. I need to pay attention to that instead of going, yep, I'm in pain, whatever, and just ignoring it, because I can ignore pain really well. Well, as we were talking, we realized that when something happens to me emotionally, some kind of mistreatment, I don't recognize it in the moment either. So that is a coping mechanism from the emotional pain that I've experienced throughout my life. My family of origin, not so great. Wonderful people, and we were really, really dysfunctional with each other. And we still are. And there was a lot of emotional disconnection. Part of that is generational, right? Part of that is it was just society. Suck it up, buttercup, get it done. Don't worry about it. Don't feel it. Don't think about this. All of that, put your emotions on the shelf. Don't be so reactionary. That taught me a certain amount of emotional pain tolerance. And then when there was abuse that went on too, I learned how not to even feel like I've been mistreated. Now I know there are people out there, man, it's amazing to me. They can spot mistreatment, bam, like that. So incredible. It's like they get, somebody does something wrong to them and they know it and then they react. And depending on their emotional pain threshold, they may react really, really big. Emotional abuse can produce both. When you've been emotionally neglected, you can have a great big huge reaction because you're trying to get somebody to pay attention to you. Or if you've been emotionally neglected, you can be silent and believe that nobody's going to show up for you anyway. In my case, I believe that nobody's going to show up for me anyway. That's how I took it. And also, I'm a questioner. And if I can understand why somebody is doing what they're doing, then it's super easy for me to just go, oh, I know why, and I can handle my own emotions, and I can take care of this. I don't need them, and I get why they might have been upset with me or why they didn't understand and reacted the way I did. So I've got a gift of forgiveness, which is wonderful. And I don't actually realize in the moment that somebody's behavior is actually not okay. So the massage therapist talked about, I think we need to lower your emotional pain threshold. It's really fascinating. I can be really stoic. Kind of have felt pride in my stoicism. But I can see what she's saying because there's been a couple of times that I have started to actually show what I'm feeling or that I'm feeling a thing instead of hiding it, because I can hide feelings so well. I go back later and I've got a lot of emotional intelligence and I can go, so what I felt in that moment was, and I don't make myself wrong for whatever it was I was feeling, but I still am silent in the moment. How many of you are silent in the moment of speaking? Yeah. So when I meet somebody who is emotionally explosive the other direction, with like, you did this and you did that and I blah, 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 and all of the being offended or blaming, that feels so wrong to me. So finding the balance in between of going, awareness, my body will tell me, like I'll feel nervous, my chest will tighten, I sigh, that's one of my things, just barely figuring this out, that my body actually will do a thing when emotionally I need to say something in the moment. So my husband did this, I talked about it a little bit ago, about how in the moment he was able to say, I feel guilty. And rather than saying I feel guilty and my guilt is yours to take care of, he just owned, I feel guilty. And it was brilliant because I could see why he felt guilty. And we could talk about that, and then poof, it was over. So I am willing to lower my emotional pain threshold. I am willing to, I don't understand all of this yet, guys. I'm working this out with you. Become aware in the moment that I'm feeling something. And it might be something that's happening that doesn't serve me, that isn't okay. I actually have asked God to teach me what it feels like to be mistreated. Isn't that strange? I'm so good at taking emotional crap that I don't even know that it's a thing that I'm taking. So I've been asking, that's kind of a hard thing, to actually start feeling when the things that people do are not loving, are not supportive, are not validating. It's kind of a hard little thing. Now, on the other end of it, if you are, quote unquote, too much for people, then your emotional pain threshold may need to rise a little bit. And realize that you have the power to take care of a lot of your emotional needs. And it's not somebody else who needs to take care of that. That you can regulate. You can keep your body and your nervous system in regulation so that you can then respond. There's two sides of the same coin. Being numb and just letting things go and just rolling over and whatever is not healthy. Overexpression is not healthy. So I've been trying to figure out what this is. For somebody who's overexpressive, it's taking the moment to suspend, be aware that you might not be seeing all that you're seeing, and live in the truth that while that is what you feel, totally acceptable to feel it, that the responsibility to regulate that is only yours. It's not somebody else's to regulate. Can you imagine, guys, for the other side? And that is that you have an emotional thing and you're able to regulate to the point that nobody even knows you're feeling, including you, about a thing. Can you imagine a baby not crying when it's hungry? Not signaling that there's discomfort when it needs to be changed? Can you imagine? Because I can't. Babies are pretty good at this, where they go, yo, I'm uncomfortable, this is not okay, somebody change me. What if I do, yo, this is not feeling comfortable to me. I'm gonna speak this emotion in the moment. I still know that I have regulation to do, and I also am aware that what you're doing is impacting me in a way that doesn't feel great. And I need to let you know that that behavior is having that effect on me. Is that okay to do? So I have a cousin who is working through this, and she and her husband, when they're in a discussion, raises his voice. To him, he's not yelling. To her, because of her past, it sends her into a shutdown and anxiety. And so what she's working on right now is, in a calm moment, she talked to him about, okay, I just need you to know what happens. When you raise your voice and I say stop yelling, and you say you're not yelling at me, I just need you to know that because of my history, when somebody raises their voice, my nervous system starts to get all wonkified. And I can't hear you anymore. So even if you're not mad, but that your voice is too loud, it has impact on me and I withdraw. Like making that awareness happen. Because then he can regulate his emotional state and communicate and go, oh, I'm raising my voice, bring it down, and still talk and still communicate. Doesn't know how to do that yet. Neither one of them know what they're doing, but at least she's starting to say it in the moment. Because what she would do is meet that loud voice and her anxiety, and she would meet it with anger herself. So there'd just be this yelling back and forth. Like she would rear up in power. What is that? That is a fight response because she felt unsafe. So I'm still chewing this apart. I'm not willing to really share yet some other things that triggered that. But I am not in an emotionally abusive situation. I have a husband who loves me and he respects me, and he does not say anything disparaging to me. He never calls me names. He doesn't yell at me. So in that way, I would be emotionally safe, right? Except that my dad didn't yell either. My dad didn't call names either. And my dad was a narcissist. And so guilt, shame, I made him feel bad. If only I would, then he could be happy. All that codependency stuff is what I grew up with. So my emotional tolerance is when somebody calmly is putting blame on me for their nervous system responses. And sometimes my husband does that. Why? Because he was trained that way. He was trained, like we all were. Wah, 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 I'm a baby. Come feed me. Somebody fix whatever is going on in me. We were all trained that way. And we weren't allowed to have emotion, to express it, and be emotionally autonomous. Most of us, right? Because if I express an emotion and you believe I make you feel something, and then you believe you've made me feel, and therefore you have to rescue me and have to help me. So that's not very safe boundaries, right? So I've already bridged the gap of you can't make me feel and I can't make you feel. That was huge and freeing. You cannot make me feel. I can feel anything I want, and my nervous system does feel things that are different than yours. Like I can drive up a canyon and have there be, a drop off on the other side, and I can drive that and my nervous system does not react at all. My husband's nervous system completely reacts, and anxiety is what he experiences, and adrenaline pumps to him. By the time we get somewhere, he is exhausted, right? Have you ever had like an adrenaline pump and then the crash? So he's like exhausted by the time we get to wherever we're going, if that's the case. I didn't make him feel anxious. He didn't make me feel calm. Based on our experiences, that is what we felt. So that was really freeing to get there. Step one, I believe in relationship, is to define that boundary. I can't make you, you can't make me feel. Now, we do have impact. I can do or say something, like raise my voice. And after there's been a conversation about the fact that raising voice makes someone else has their nervous system that kicks in, then my raised voice has impact on your experience. The only way I can know that is if it's communicated and if you remind me gently. So in a situation, let's say with my cousin and her husband, if her husband gets all excited and starts talking in a way that causes her nervous system to kind of do a thing just because of her history, then she can say, honey, it's happening. It's happening. And he can make a choice whether or not to continue or not continue. He's not making her feel, she is feeling. So when I travel, my husband's emotional state and nervous system gets really anxious because I'm not safe. He doesn't know that I'm safe. And so I know that my travel has impact. And so rest stops I'll call, getting to the gate of the airport, touching down, I let him know so that he can regulate that nervous system. I'm not making him anxious. It's just what happens. So for me, thinking about this, there are some things that people say or do that my emotional threshold, my emotional pain threshold is up here, and I feel something and I'm not aware of it. Kind of like that physical pain dissociation. I have emotional pain dissociation. So, my goal this week is to move that needle. That means I got to feel it, be aware of it. Ugh. We were told not to feel yucky feelings. We were told to be happy and be peaceful and be welcoming and be trusting and all of those things, right? That's what I was taught. So I've got to let that go and go, no, it's actually okay to feel forgotten. It's okay to feel dismissed. It's okay that what this feeling is right now is taken for granted. And not just looking back and finding the emotion, sticking with it and going, right now, I feel taken for granted. And speaking it in the moment. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is really stretching me. And I'm kind of excited about it because I believe that there is a new level of healing for me as I learn to, with grace, with respect, with ownership, speaking my experiences in the very moment. So one of the things that also started this is spent an entire week with a group of friends on Marco Polo where we weren't allowed to tell the story behind any emotion that we had. We just played a game and just spoke. I feel excited, I feel abandoned, I feel frustrated, I feel alone, I feel nurtured, I feel cared for. That's the only what we could speak. No stories. So I'm going to encourage you today to set some alarms on your phone. If you want to play in this, if you want to heal and change your emotional threshold, your emotional pain threshold, so it's kind of at a neutral, so you can both feel what you're feeling in the moment, take responsibility for what's yours, and communicate to others the impact that they've had with respect and without blame. That's the sweet spot. Noticing it, feeling it, owning it, speaking it. That sounds like something I gotta write down. If you want to do that, set your alarm for your phone 3 times a day. And when it goes off, just ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? So I will share. Right now I'm feeling anxious. I've got some worry. I'm feeling inquisitive, excited, connected, grateful. Yep, That's what I'm feeling right now. So get on here and state what you're feeling. The more you can identify that, the quicker you can balance this emotional pain threshold into this space where really healthy connections can be made. The more that we do this, the more that others will respond to our different way of thinking and doing things. And I think we can change the world, you guys. Just your world. I'm going to change my world. So if you got a world that needs to be changed, I'm just going to say, hey, change the world by changing your inner workings a little bit. That is it. Talk to you later.